Everything was ready. The moment God had been waiting for was here at last. God was coming to help his people, just as he promised in the beginning. But how would he come? What would he be like? What would he do? Mountains would have bowed down, seas would have roared, trees would have clapped their hands, but the earth held its breath. As silent as snow falling, he came in, and when no one was looking, in the darkness he came.
I have a story. I think you're going to like it. It's called He Is Here. There was a young girl who was engaged to a man named Joseph. Joseph was the great-great-great-grandson of King David. One morning, this girl was minding her own business when suddenly a great warrior of light appeared right there in her bedroom. He was Gabriel, and he was an angel, a special messenger from heaven. When she saw the tall, shining man standing there, Mary was frightened. "You don't need to be scared," Gabriel said. "God is very happy with you." Mary looked around to see if perhaps he was talking to someone else. "Mary," Gabriel said, and laughed with such gladness that Mary's eyes filled with sudden tears. "Mary, you're going to have a baby. You're going to have a little boy. You will call him Jesus, and he's God's son. He is the one. He is the rescuer. The God who flung the planets into space and kept them whirling around and around. The God who made the universe with just a word. The one who could do anything at all. Was making himself small and was coming down as a baby." Wait, God was sending a baby to rescue the world? "Why, that's too wonderful," Mary said. "How could it possibly be true?" "Is anything too wonderful for God?" said Gabriel. So, Mary trusted God more than her eyes could see, and she believed. "I am God's servant," she said. "Whatever God says, I will do." Now, sure enough, it was just as the angel had said. 9 months later, Mary was almost ready to have her baby. Now, Mary and Joseph had to take a trip to Bethlehem, the town where King David was from. When they reached the little town, they found that every room was full. Every bed taken. "Go away," the innkeepers told them. "There isn't any place for you here." Well, where would they stay? So Mary's baby would come. They couldn't find anywhere except an old, tumbled-down stable.
Hello, what can I do for you?
Is there any room in your house?
We're all pretty full. Not much room there, but maybe the old stable down there. That one there, we've got some room in there if you wanted to use that.
Yes.
Good. Feel free.
So, they stayed where the cows and the donkeys and the horses stayed. And there in the stable, amongst the chickens and the donkeys and the cows, in the quiet of the night, God gave the world his wonderful gift. The baby that would change the world had been born. His baby son. Mary and Joseph wrapped him to keep him warm. They made a soft bed of straw and used the animal trough as his cradle. They gazed in wonder at God's great gift, wrapped in swaddling clothes and lying in a manger. Mary and Joseph named him Jesus, Emmanuel, which means God has come to live with us, because of course, he had. That same night, in amongst the other stars, suddenly a bright new star appeared. Of all the stars in the dark vaulted heavens, this one shone clear. It blazed in the night and made the other stars look quite pale beside it. God put it there when his baby son was born, to be like a spotlight shining on him, lighting up the darkness, showing people the way to him. You see, God was like a new dad. He couldn't keep the good news to himself. He had been waiting all these years for this moment, and now he wanted to tell everyone. So he pulled out all the stops. He sent an angel to tell Mary the good news. He put a special star in the sky to show where the boy was. And now he was going to send a big choir of angels to sing a happy song to the world. He is here. He has come. Go, see him, my baby boy. Now where would you send your splendid choir? To a concert hall, maybe? Or to a palace, perhaps? But God sent his to the hillside. Outside a little town, in the middle of the night, he sent all those angels to sing for a raggedy old bunch of shepherds. A raggedy old bunch of shepherds? Shepherds watching their sheep outside of Bethlehem. In those days, remember, people used to laugh at shepherds. They would say they're smelly, call them rude names, which I couldn't possibly mention here. You see, people thought shepherds were nobodies, just scruffy old riffraff. But God must have thought shepherds were very important indeed, because they're the ones that he chose to send the angels to. And they heard the good news first. That night, some shepherds were out in the open fields, warming themselves by a campfire, when suddenly the sheep darted. They were frightened by something. The olive trees rustled. What was that? A wing beat? They turned around. Standing in front of them was a huge warrior of light, blazing in the darkness. "Don't be afraid of me," the bright shining man said. "I haven't come to hurt you. I've come to bring you happy news for everyone, everywhere. Today, in David's town, in Bethlehem, God's son has been born. You can go and see him. He's sleeping over there in the manger." Behind the angel, they saw a strange glowing cloud. Except it wasn't a cloud. It was angels, troops and troops of angels, armed with light, and they were singing a beautiful song. Glory to God. To God be fame and honor and all hoorays. Then, as quickly as they appeared, the angels left. The shepherds stamped out the fire. Left their sheep and raced down that grassy hill. Through the gates of Bethlehem, down the narrow cobbled streets, through the courtyard, down, steps, round a corner, past the inn, through a hedge, until finally, at last, they reach the tumble-down stable. They catch their breath, then quietly they tiptoe potato inside, and they knelt on the dirt floor. They'd heard about this promised child, and now he was there, heaven's son, the maker of the stars, a baby sleeping in his mother's arms. This baby would be like that bright star shining in the night, a light to light up the whole world, chasing away darkness, helping people to see. And the darker the night got, the brighter the star would shine. Far away in the east, 3 very clever men saw that very same star, the star that God had put in the sky when Jesus was born. They knew it was a sign. A baby king had been born. They had been waiting for the star. They knew it would come. "He's here," they shouted. "He's here!" And I'm sure if you had been there, you would have heard them laughing and dancing and singing till the sun came up. At dawn, they packed up their camels, wrapped the gifts for the baby, and they bought their most precious treasures of all, frankincense, gold, and myrrh. Special, sparkly, lovely smelling and gleaming things. Just right for a king. The 3 wise men, well, actually, if you'd met them, you would have thought they were kings because they were so very rich and clever and very important. But they all set off. They rode their camels across endless deserts, up steep mountains, down into deep valleys, through raging rivers and over grassy plains. Night and day and night for hours, that turned into days, that turned into weeks, that turned into months and months until finally they reached Jerusalem. Jerusalem was by far the most important city for miles around. And as anyone can tell you, where there's a palace, there will be kings. Kings are born in palaces. So that's where they went. But they were in for a surprise. When they went to see King Herod, surely he knew where this baby was born. But he didn't know. In fact, he didn't like the sound of this new king. It made him very cross. He didn't want anyone to be king except him. But Herod's advisors told the 3 wise men what was written in their books, what God had said about a baby king. Go to Bethlehem, there you'll find him. And then suddenly the star they had seen in the east started moving again and showing them the way. So the 3 wise men followed the star out of the big city, along the road and into the little town of Bethlehem. They followed the star through the streets, out into the nice part of town, through the not-so-nice part of town, and into the, well, really not-so-nice part of town, down a little dirt track until it stopped right over a tiny little house. But wait, this isn't a palace at all. There weren't guards or servants or flags or red carpets or trumpets or anything. Did they get it wrong? Or was this what God meant? Sure enough, in that little house, there, sitting on his mother's knee, they found him, the baby king. The 3 men knelt before the little king. They took off their rich royal turbans and their gleaming golden crowns. They bowed their noble heads to the ground and gave him their sparkling treasures. The journey that had begun so many centuries before had led 3 wise men here, to a little town, to a little house, to a little child, to the king that God had promised. But this child was a new kind of king. Though he was the Prince of Heaven, he had become poor. Though he was the mighty God, he had become helpless. The king hadn't come to be the boss. He had come to be a servant. Ah, see? Told you would like that story.
Yep.
Yep, that's good.
Okay.
All right, we're good now. Take 5.
Hang on. God is sending a baby to rescue the world? You serious?
Well, yes, I am. I am Olivia. Do you reckon that's good? All right, that's a wrap, Olivia. Well done. You did it. Bravo.